And we back at it again, but back to my question. Well, it was a very personal question, and I just have to ask, where can I get these pants?
Well,
I love these pants.
I'm glad you asked. Now, for a lot of people that don't know, I have my own clothing line.
Wow.
Okay, so to get these pants, you have to come through me, and this at www.therealarthurrowland.com, and just click on the merchandise, go right down to the bottom, and it'll pull up.
So we back with another one. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited because this is for radio and TV, so I'm super excited for this interview. We have none other than superstar sensation himself, Master Minnick, in the house. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me on here, yo. I've been looking forward to this for a minute.
Me too. First I want to say your song. I interviewed Portia. That was like a few weeks ago, and you were on that song Ghetto, and that's one of my favorite songs. So I just want to shout that out real quick. So my first question is small beginnings. Small beginnings are, everything, and I want to know when was the moment? When was the ideal or the thought that crossed your head or your mind when you were like, I want to do music and I want to do it for God?
That's a good question. So for me, it really started for me when I was a senior in high school. Throughout my high school, career, I guess I was a secular artist in the Bay Area doing gangster rap music, the typical type of music you hear coming out of California. But my senior year of high school, there was a talent show, and all of the judges of the talent show were gospel rap artists. And I was like, look, if I'm gonna win this talent show, I need to do a gospel rap song. I need to do a Christian song, right? And at that time, I was going to a youth group, but I didn't give God my everything. I just gave him my church attendance. But when I did this Christian song at this school for this talent show, the school went up. I mean, the event was going crazy. Everybody loved the song. It was wild. I ended up winning first prize with this song. And I just felt like, okay, this is what I'm gifted for. This is what I'm created to do. So that was the convincing moment for me to say, okay, this is it right here.
How do I put this? Like I said before, my first introduction of your music, I would say it was PLUTO. I'm gonna say it's PLUTO. With 1K, my sister loves that song, so I was like, wait, who is that? And she was like, So I looked you up on Instagram. I was like, wow, like, okay. So then that's when I found out you were in California. I was like, okay, this different time zone thing throws me off. So like it can be light over there and it be getting dark over here. Like it's a lot. So that's leading to my next question. I do apologize. My next
Yeah.
is what or who has inspired you to actually get into music or this type of style of music that you are doing now? Who has inspired you to do it?
hmm So the style of music comes from, where I'm from geographically. Like I'm from California, but not just Cali, like I'm from the Bay Area, which is
Mhm.
like a whole different state in itself, right? The Bay Area has its own bounce, its own lineage, its own culture, from the hyphy movement to the funk groups back in the 70s and all of that. So I have a Bay Area bounce that you could hear from E40 songs, different Too Short songs, I Am Sue, HBK Gang, all of that. So that Cali Bay Area sound is just embedded in my DNA. I'm a hyphy kid. Like I was the one with the gold teeth and the RIP Mac Dre hoodies at the side shows. I was the one doing all the dances. I'm still doing the dances, right? So the sound is there, but I would say as far as content, um, I get inspired by my peers in Christian hip hop. You know what I mean? I listen to a lot of Ty Brazzle. I'm inspired by, of course, Cray, like how his transparency, is able to be displayed on the track so eloquently. You know what I mean? So I like to say that I keep the Bay Area sound with Christian content, in the words where when you hear it, like once you realize it's Christian, it's too late. You know what I mean? Because the sound will captivate you, but the content will edify you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
I do. So I'm glad you actually pushed into that direction. So um, what would you say is one thing that is positive and one thing that is negative about the Christian hip hop, the gospel rap community?
hmm One thing that's positive, I would say, the direction is going into currently, um, Christ is getting put back into CHH, right? I would say there's more of an emphasis on glorifying God in the music, because for a while there, you couldn't really tell the difference between clean secular music and Christian hip hop. It just is what it is. Like, but now, with the Brian Trejos and the new Hovey project, like with those things being popular and a prominent, influence, I see a lot of different people going back in that direction, which is really encouraging and inspiring. And I think God is pleased with that. You know what I mean? A negative thing, I would say, I I see I see a lot of people putting clout over calling.
Mm,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of us in this sphere, this genre, that are after the likes, the comments, the notoriety, and I think a lot of people sacrifice, you know, the substance in their music for fame. And a lot
mm,
of people are chasing fame and not chasing the name,
mm,
of Jesus. So, for a while here, I've been saying that, prepare for the new CHH. This is the new Christian rap where people aren't in it for the clout. People are in it to edify other people, where people are in it to help other artists rise up. There's a lot of crabs in a barrel mentality I see going on here and clickiness.
mm.
But with Christ coming back into CHH, with him being the new emphasis, I think a lot of that is going to start changing here real soon.
So I was being a little nosy, getting the tea like I usually do. But when I first prepared for the interview, a few weeks back, I seen that you met Lecrae and Portia was in the building, and everybody was in this one location. And I agree with you. I think unity is coming back to the culture as a whole, because no matter what your sound is, no matter if you're grime, no matter what your genre of music is, you guys were in there, as a body, and I love seeing that. But anyway, I also wanted to point out you have so many different collabs. You have George Rose, you have 1K, you have One Day, you have so many collabs. Which one was your favorite?
Whew.
If
Good
you could only
question.
pick one.
Good question. Okay. Okay. I have to say two for different reasons, right? So PLUTO, PLUTO like launched me into the genre,
Mhm,
right? But WIT just took it like to a whole nother level. So PLUTO, 1K for you, and
mhm.
WIT with no big deal. PLUTO brought me in, but WIT just launched me. So both for different reasons.
So, because I'm a huge No Big Deal fan, I want to know what was the experience like working with him, collabing with him, because everyone has different opinions. People at the top or people who are going to the top, they have different opinions. Oh, he was okay. He was a little standoff. Or these are not things they said about him, but these are things, people would
Hmm.
say, oh, he's standoffish. We worked, but it wasn't like a connection or nothing. So what was the experience like working with No Big Deal?
So I think a lot of people, have stuff to say about artists they don't know
Hmm.
personally, right? They may see them at an event and they don't have a conversation with them, so they may say, "Oh, he's standoffish." And a lot of artists are standoffish, but it's not because they're rude. They could be introverted, right?
Mm,
Like my friend Stephen Malcolm, he's introverted,
mm,
but I went on tour with him and he's like, once you get to know him, it's like he's the most charismatic, bubbly dude ever. But some of us, we don't do well in public settings. We're more to ourselves, right? So Dilly, um, I seen him once before at like A3C, and in that setting, he was different in terms to when we were together, because I think it's the same situation. Like in public, some of us are introverted, so that was the case with him. But when we was kicking it at the video shoot, like it was lit. Like we clicked like
mhm.
immediately. You know what I mean? It wasn't no super stardom. It wasn't no, oh, let's do the video shoot and let's get it over with. Like no, like we was rocking. We was
Right.
rocking. And even now, like we text all the time.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't just one and done business deal. Like that's my boy. I asked him for advice. We talk about random things, and it was a dope situation for me, for real.
So if you weren't rapping, if you weren't doing music, what area, what field, what industry would you be in?
I would definitely put more of an emphasis on acting for me. Acting is what I did before music. Like even at 3 years old, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I have a few films that I've done, but if I wasn't doing music, I would put my everything into acting. So even though I'm still gonna be doing that, it would be much more like of my focus if I wasn't doing music.
So what, okay, okay. So how do I say this? A stereotype in CHH and rap in general, not just Christian, secular as well, is rappers they have ghostwriters. They do not write their own stuff. So question one is, do you write your own material? And what is your writing process like if you do write your own material?
Mhm. That is a really good question. So I do write my own material. My writing process typically, well, like lately I haven't been writing. I've been just like
Hmm.
thinking of 4 sentences at a time, 4 bars at a time. So I'll be in the booth just mumbling a melody, and then I put the words into it, right? So normally that's how it goes. But um, my producer George Rose, he's also been A&R in my music for the past year. There are times where we combine our ideas. Like for WIT, we worked on that song together. And when he made the beat for me, he was like, "What comes to your mind when you hear this beat?" I said, "It's not necessarily words, but it's a facial expression that comes to my mind." And I made the facial expression, and the words came to me like, "What did you like? What did you think?"
Right.
And he was like, "Ooh, right there. What did you think? What did you think?" I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy." So he like we pieced it together, um, together. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So he wasn't a ghost writer, but it was a collaborative effort. You know what I mean?
Mhm. So out of all the bars that you've ever created in your head, or in songs, what is your, like, when you're trying to hype yourself up, what is one of your own bars that it just comes off the brain?
Like my favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like no cap like we in the Baptist church.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that one. Cause
Mm-hmm.
like, man, having a Baptist grandma like at all the Easter services is like you gotta take your hat off. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I know there's millions of people that can relate to that. So I know you wish you had this first no cap like we in a Baptist church. Like every time I perform that, I can just put the mic to the crowd and no cap like we in a
Yeah,
Baptist.
that's so funny. So, what is one thing that you've learned? I think we're post pandemic now, but what is one thing that you've learned during the pandemic?
One of the things that I learned,
Mm-hmm.
I learned that no matter what's being canceled, God's plan isn't canceled.
Come
You know,
on.
like for me, when the pandemic began, I had over 20 plus bookings either get postponed or canceled. The NBA season got canceled, NFL got canceled, everything was closed, right? But even with all of that, God's plan still went forth.
Mm,
So with that, a lot of people were discouraged, like, oh, my career, my family, my money. But if you just lean into God in the midst of famine or in the midst of anything, God will still make a way. God is still moving, regardless
mm.
if other things are standing still. So that's what I learned firsthand.
That's good. That I'm telling you, you're so well. We're around the same age, but you're so young yet so wise. And nowadays, you don't really see that on social media. Like I said, when I'm going through your Instagram, I'm being inspired. I'm being uplifted. If I've had a bad day, and I think that's what being a Christian and being a Christian with a platform is all about. So, question. My next question is, what is one thing that you wish your fans knew about you, but it's like you hint out there, but they really don't know?
mm, mm. I wish my fans knew that not every day is a good day for me.
Mm,
I think my persona, my image is like, oh, he's always joyful, he's bubbly, he doesn't really go through anything. But no, I am just like y'all. Sometimes I get depressed, sometimes I'm sad, sometimes things don't go my way. And I think it could get misconstrued when I'm always smiling on social media. You
mm,
know what I'm saying? But God has delivered me. God continues to work with me, on depression or insecurities. I want people to know that I deal with some of the same things they deal with,
mm.
and I can relate to them on that level. And even with me dealing with those things, you know, I have joy when you see me have joy because God is with me and God helps me get through those certain things, you
Mm.
know. So yeah, if that makes any sense. So
It does. It brings the human side of, being, I wouldn't call you an influencer, but I guess being an influencer, being a Christian influencer, brings the human side of you, which I love. So I'm done with the questions. I just threw my questions to the side. So I want to know the tea. What is happening for the rest of 2021? What is going on? What's going to be popping?
so it's really funny that you asked me that right now, because right before we got on this interview, I was on a FaceTime with somebody I look up to, and we were talking about this in depth. Um, by September, October, everything will look different.
Mm,
In a God way, in a really good way. There's a lot of different collectives or organizations and companies reaching out to me, but I feel like God is leading me in a unique direction that will take everything to the next level. So expect a lot of new music.
mhm.
Expect placements on some of your favorite playlists, and expect some of your favorite artists to put me on their albums. But expect a deeper version of Miles Minnick to be on display.
I cannot wait. I'm super excited. I'm 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 stoked. I'm for what God has got for you and what he has going for you, not just in this year, but the years to come. I'm excited. I don't know why. I just am excited. So, I want to get to the more spiritual side of, the man behind the music. I know sometimes people see, oh, he's doing music, he's jumping, he's laughing, he's doing all this, but the spiritual side is what also matters. So, with you being, a Christian, is there a specific like church that you go to, or do you have a specific covering? Like you can just call up and be like, hey doc, like, I got this going on. Can you help me walk through it? Because we are young and we can be influenced by so many things. Like you said, depression, social media. There's so many things that are influencing us. Even sometimes, getting the big head. I know it happens. It doesn't just happen to the people way on top. I know it happens to everyone. So
Yeah.
do you have somebody like that?
Absolutely. I think it's essential,
Mm-hmm.
Especially as Christian leaders, like accountability is everything, and covering.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, like, I wouldn't follow anybody that's not following anybody,
Mm-hmm.
so I have a pastor that I follow. I have mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I got saved, like, I put an emphasis on that, for my life, and my wife and I, like, we have check-ins with our pastor. We go to the Rock Church Bay Area under Pastor Christopher Foster, a dynamic man of God. So yeah, without that, I wouldn't be who or where I am today. Like, even before we went to this church, our best friends were 50, 60 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, our best friends was the bishop and the associate pastors and all of that. Like, we would stay glued to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why, sometimes I feel like I'm a 50-year-old trapped in a 20-some-year-old's body, because everything they had, they poured into me, and I held on to it. And that's my secret sauce, period.
I'm the same way. People always think I'm older because the way I talk is older, or the way I dive into the Bible is older than what my age. Because they think, oh, she's only 22. She should be partying. She should be doing this. She should be doing that. But when you're called and God has placed you at a certain position to influence other people around your age and even older, because even older people reach out to me like, oh my goodness, you inspire me. And I'm like, no, you inspire me. And it's like a toss. But yeah. I be rambling. I do
No,
apologize.
you good.
So I know with my family we have a routine where every morning we get up and as a family we pray together. And because you are a husband and not only you are a father, what is a routine that you have established with your family?
Yeah. So every single day on the way to school,
Mm-hmm.
we pray. We pray in the car. Like, they know. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
what we do. And even if I slip up and forget, like, my son is like, Dad, we got to pray. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And they won't go to sleep without us praying together. That's everybody coming into the room, joining hands, putting on Maverick City music,
Mm-hmm.
and praying together. They know it. Like, that's the routine for us. Like, period.
Because you are a young father, do you what are your thoughts about the role of being a father, no matter what age you are? What are the importance? No, what do you feel is the importance of the role of being a father?
It's very important. Fathers are meant to cover, they're meant to protect and provide. You know what I mean? So for me, it's essential that I'm present in my kid's life, because without that, there's a huge void. There's something missing. And kudos to all the single mothers out there that are doing the best they can in pouring into their kids and taking care of them. But, you know, there's something, there's some things that a father can do that a mother, they're not built for.
Right.
You know what I mean? And vice versa. There's a lot of things that, mothers can do that fathers don't. So with both present, there's a balance. There's a complete union, a complete household. So I think it's very important for that puzzle piece to be present. And I'm seeing the benefit of that in my children, for sure.
So Father's Day is right around the corner, literally right around the corner. So do you have any expectations of what you think your family is gonna do for you?
My wife just looked at me with a rolling eyes emoji face. I do have expectations. I do. You know, my wife knows how to spoil me. Last year we went to Monterey. I don't know if you know where Monterey is. Monterey Bay. It's like this beautiful place out here in California.
Mm-hmm.
But this year we have a newborn,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know if we could get a babysitter or anything like that. But I don't know. I'm expecting a little something though, like some new Jordans and a vacation.
Right.
No.
Right. So my last question, as much as I don't want to end this, what motivates you when times get rough, when trials and tribulations come your way, and your mind is clouded with so many different ideals and thoughts and vision boards and stuff like that in your mind? What motivates you to keep going?
Remembering what God has said about me. Remembering the moments or previous times where I was depressed or in a dark place, but I got a word from God, or God gave me a dream. Those situations, those prophetic words, those dreams push me. They keep me going. It's something that I refer back to when I'm doubting myself or when I'm doubting God. It's like I'm reminded, like, no, like I'm called for this. I'm called to move forward. There is greater ahead. My current situation does not dictate my secured future. So what God has done and what God has said pushes me to keep going.
That's good. Oh my goodness, I love it. You are so wise. You are so wise. It's crazy. But you guys can check his music out on any platform that you stream music. Also, go follow him on Instagram. It's gonna be listed somewhere in the link below. It's gonna be listed somewhere. So until next time, we love you. Is there any last words you want to say before we get? I don't want to end it, but before we get off here.
Look, I don't know who you are, where you are, who is watching right now, but know that God has a plan for your life. It's going to get greater later. And just know delay does not mean denial, and rejection is just redirection. So keep going.
Come on. Period, Pooh. Period. So until next time, like he said, honey, be you. Toots.